get started with the demo. So tonight I'm going to show you how to make red lentil veggie soup. So what I did, so first we're going to start with the onions because those need to get nice and sauteed before I start adding anything else. I should have turned the burner on first because these burners take forever to heat up. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to rinse your lentils. I've already rinsed my lentils, but there's a reason why you want to rinse lentils. Because this is what my water looked like. This was pure water, and I rinsed my lentils. So lentils dry out in the open, usually. So yeah, there's no insect larvae, but it looks like, you know, it could be grapefruit juice. But this is just water, so yeah, just rinse your stuff beforehand. I just wanted to show you this so you'd be like, oh. So anyway, so there's that. Rinse your lentils. Even if they're brown lentils, you want to rinse them just because, yeah. Same reason why you'd want to rinse your lettuce if it was head lettuce. Get stuff off of it. All right, first thing we're going to do is we are going to cut our onions. So I could have chopped these ahead of time, but everybody chops onions differently, so I just wanted to show you how I chop onions. So usually I take off one side, and I take off the other end, and when I pull it, it peels off a layer. So then I just take off that layer, and it just peels the whole onion for me. Like that. Alright, do another one. So if you don't like onions, you can do onion powder if you wanted to, or you could do less onions. For me, I like onions just because they're good for you, and they have a lot of beneficial properties to them. And we'll save these for the chickens, because I have a friend who has chickens, and the chickens love chicken food. And I've actually heard that, so the peels, you can actually dry them and grind them up and use them for, onion, like you would onion powder. I haven't actually tried it, or if you want to do, something super, economical, you take your peels and everything and you shove them into a Ziploc bag and you shove them in your freezer. And eventually, once you have enough scraps from carrots, potatoes, onions, celery, once you have enough scraps, you can throw it in a pot with some water and make your own vegetable broth out of stuff that you would have just thrown away. All right, so next, usually I chop my onions in half, and I lay both those halves down. And then I just do little half moons across the whole thing, and I hold on to it as I go across. This knife is actually sharper than I thought it would be. All right, then I usually go to about 2/3 of the way across, and then I lay the onion down. So it was up like this, then I flip it down. So that instead of going in a downward motion, I'm continuing to go in an upward motion. That will usually save your fingers. Of course, just being aware of how close you are to your fingers helps too. Now, if you have a food processor or a chopper, this totally, you can save way more time doing that. And you can make the pieces as big or as small as you want. I made the super small in the soup that you tried, just so that if there was anybody that didn't like onions here, then they wouldn't be able to see them. All right. Okay, got the onions chopped. Now my pan, it's kind of hot. You probably want it hotter. So if you wanted to avoid oil, you could water saute. If you're going to water saute, what you would make sure that your pan is definitely hot, and then you would add a little bit of water in, and then add your onions, and that'll just kind of, it would saute it. I'm going to use just a little bit of oil, just because. depends on where you're at in your journey and whether you feel like you need to avoid oil or not. I had a spatula. I don't know where it went though. Alright. So while these are sauteing, I'm going to work on the rest of the veggies. So then we have our potato. So I figured I'd just peel this in front of you. So my peeler looks like a shaver, and it has like these serrated edges on it. This thing is lethal. This thing will like tear your finger up if you're not paying attention. That's why I love it. Just because it'll, yeah, it peels a potato like butter. It'll peel butternut squash really easy. Man, that's a really good onion. I don't know about you guys, but my eyes are watering ever so slightly. Move those out of the way. Alright, so usually what I do is I'll cut my potato in half, longwise, and then I just do like little chunks. And you want to just try to make sure that they're about the same size. They don't have to be exactly the same size. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. It just depends on how long you want to wait for them to cook. Cut out a little more of the skin that's on there. So I got this big bag of potatoes. You can get them a 50-pound bag at this, it's a 50-pound bag for $15. And it's not an Amish store. It's like a, what would that? What's that called? My brain's not working.
Horace?
No, it's not at Horace. Yeah, it's not an Amish store, but it's like a produce type store, but it's not like a farmer's market type store. But yes, a lot of my potatoes that I got from there, they're like this big, and a lot of them they look like two potatoes combined. They're like little farts, and they're so cute because you can chop them and then make like little fart potatoes. Anyway, what's next? So we got our onion. Okay, so 8 cups of vegetables of choice. So this is whatever you have in your fridge. I mean, seriously. So if you look at the very bottom of your recipe, there's a list of different things that I have put in this before. Got my potatoes in, and I need a sous chef. Anybody want to be a sous chef for a second?
I'll be a sous chef.
I just need some water.
Water?
Yes, ma'am. Some added potatoes. So on the bottom, these are things that I've added in this before. And it can do any combination just as long as it's about anywhere from 6 to 8 cups. So I've done carrot, celery, cabbage, bok choy, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, collard, spinach, green beans, corn, peas, bell peppers, zucchini, etc. So literally anything you have. Thank you, ma'am. And then I need a pitcher. Anything you have in your cup in your refrigerator. So I added just a little bit of water just because the onions were good and cooked. All right, so the vegetables I had in my fridge today, which some of them were in your soup. So today we have some cauliflower, I have some celery, some carrots, and some cabbage, and then potatoes. So, and then one more exciting thing. So I'm just putting all these in here, like they're pre-chopped. Probably the thing that takes the most time is chopping the vegetables. If you don't have time to chop vegetables, seriously, go over to the frozen section and pick out like a couple bags of frozen veggies, and you just dump that in. You don't have to cut the veggies if you don't want to. You can even find potatoes in the frozen section that are cubes, and you just throw that in too, because not everybody has time. One more thing I'm going to add is kale. So I just picked this from my garden today. So kale does survive. Kale does survive. All right, so fun thing with kale is to de-stem it, you just hold on to it and you just go like that. It's like super, super, super easy. And because this kale is so tiny, I don't actually have to chop this up if I don't want to. But I might chop it just a little bit.
So I want to ask you a question. What happens from the beginning?
Say that again.
Do beginners make that, like the way you're schooling the bar?
Well, why don't you come over here and try it?
Okay.
Come here. She wants to know if beginners can do this.
Let's try it.
Because that's like all right. Come over here. Take it lightly. Are you left-handed?
I'm right and left. I can do both sides.
Okay. So and then you just do it like.
That's what happened.
Oh, she did it!
I did it. Did you see they're still on there?
That means you gripped it too tight.
I guess so.
All right, try it again.
Let's just do that.
Try it again.
With a different one?
Yep.
Because, see, I keep doing that.
Do it again.
Okay.
Do it again.
There.
Oh! Now you can sword fight with it. That's usually what my kids do. Like, all of a sudden they'll be, because usually the kale stems are much, much longer. And next thing I know, he poked me with a kale stem. Like, well, quit fighting with kale stems and you won't get poked. All right, so if you want to chop them, I usually just bunch them into one big pile like that. There's no specific, I mean, you can roll it up and make it look all fancy, but who's got time for that? You just bunch it, and then you just rough chop it. Watch your fingers, because you don't want to cut them off. And then you're done. But I'm going to wait to add this because I like it a little bit more, not as cooked. I like my kale not as dead. And I'm going to eat it. So we'll just put it in there until it's ready. All right, so next thing we have is some tomatoes. Yes, ma'am. Oh, no. I don't want to see that. She just showed the live video. All right, so usually I'll just cut them in half. Now, if you don't want to do fresh tomatoes, you can use canned tomatoes. I usually like the petite dice, just because they're petite, and it seems like they go farther. But it's totally up to you. I think the fresh tastes better, but yeah, just depends on what you have time for. But I figured, since we gotta wait, I had to wait for the onions to saute, might as well chop up some fresh stuff. So, when we first passed out the recipes, I mentioned that you can add curry powder to this and coconut milk if you wanted to make it a curried lentil soup. We have done that before, so I figured I'd show you the non-curry version. And you probably could do the same spices that are in this if you wanted to, or you could omit some of them. But that's the nice thing about this is, depending on which vegetables you use, I mean, you could omit the cumin that's in it and use, you know, like maybe some Italian seasoning if you're going to be adding zucchini and things like that into it. You can add more tomatoes if you wanted to.
And where are your tomatoes?
What's that?
Where'd you get your tomatoes?
These ones. Where did I get them? Yeah, they look good. I think I got them from Aldi. The south side one. South side? Yep, I think I got them from Aldi down there. Oh, yep, there's water. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add the water. Now, I usually add the water to where it's just above, like where the vegetables are below it. And I might have to add more than what's here. Oh no, that's the perfect amount. All right, then I'm going to add my spices. So in here, I have the cumin, the onion powder, the garlic powder, and the thyme, because who doesn't need more thyme? I know, at least I got one person laughing. I need lots more time. Seems like the time just flies by. Except for at night. At night, it just, there's not enough time at night. Seems like during the day, there's tons, there's time just drags by, but at night just goes really fast.
You have children.
Oh, yes, I have 4 boys. Yeah, that's why it goes by.
You don't have enough time.
Yeah. They suck all the energy out of me when I'm sleeping. All right, then we have our bay leaves. Now, some people have said bay leaves don't do any difference. Well, then that means your bay leaves are old, and you need to get some more bay leaves. Yes. So hopefully that didn't offend anybody. But I'm going to add 2. But yeah, usually bay leaves don't last as long as other spices. Just like other spices, eventually they lose some of their flavor, so you just use more. But bay leaves are a little bit different. All right, then we have our better than bouillon. So this you want to use about a rounded tablespoon, which is about 4 to 6 tablespoons, depending on how round your tablespoon is. So, yeah, that's probably 6 at least. There's no exact science. For this, it basically just gives it some depth. And if you don't want to use this, if you have vegetable broth at home that you need to use up, you can use vegetable broth in this instead of water.
Jennifer, I've made these soups and stews. This is one of the best.
Oh, good.
You gotta market this.
You guys say it louder for the people that are listening online. You can tell them it's one of the best.
This recipe, and I've tried many, is one of the best I've tried in a long
We
time.
can't hear you, Cracker. No,
Jennifer, this stew is amazing. What's the name of it again?
you're so funny.
Oh, the red lentil veggie soup.
Well, now you can make it.
Gotta market this thing.
Now you can make it at home. So this is 1 pound of red lentils, which I rinsed, and you guys saw what the water looked like when you rinsed it. So this I got at Walmart. They were like $1.40 something a pound, which is the cheapest place that I've found as far as getting red lentils. And the nice thing with red lentils, and actually pretty much any lentil, is that they cook fast. Red lentils cook a little bit faster than brown lentils, but they cook fast. So somebody did ask me earlier, is this a recipe that I can just put in my Instant Pot? Yes. It's right there. You do everything, you put it in there, and then you pressure cook for, okay, that's supposed to say 7 minutes. There's no 7 there.
Not 10?
Yeah, pressure cook for 7 minutes and allow it to sit for about 10 minutes. So that's what happens when you're typing things fast. Also, if you wanted to, you can throw this all into a crock pot before you go to bed. And by morning, you will have soup. Or you can throw it all in a crock pot in the morning before you go to work. And by the time you get home, your house will smell amazing and you will have soup ready and waiting for you. Yes. Yes. All right. I think I already put the salt in and everything. I think that's all. The kale.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
In a crock pot, would it be like 4 hours on time? I think.
So you would probably, if you're going to cook it overnight, you would probably want to do it on low.
But not overnight, like during the morning.
So if you're starting it in the morning and you want to be ready by lunch or dinner, you want to put it at night. For however long until it's ready. Yeah. But crock pots are different because some of my crock pots that are smaller, some of them cook faster, but then again some of them don't. It just depends on how long it is.
Okay, Jennifer, we have a testimony.
Oh no! All right.
Kathy here. You want to tell her about the soup and then it?
I make a lot of soup, but I use meat. But this was excellent.
She's a meat eater, and this is amazing.
There you
For
go.
me.
A meat eater tastes it, and she loves it because her taste buds aren't dead yet.
No, that was really good.
Oh, I'm so glad that you liked it.
Jenny,
All right.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
Jenny has a question, but I'm going to ask it for you. Normally lentils cook not more than 45 minutes. And
Well,
the
they're
other
usually-
vegetables don't take that long. Is it for marinating and getting the flavor?
Well, so in a crock pot. No, I mean, did it say 40 minutes on here? So, okay, so it usually takes about 20 minutes. for the lentils to cook, whether it's brown lentils or red lentils. Red lentils take a little bit longer. But when you're putting everything in at once, it takes a little bit longer. Especially in a crock pot if you're starting off. If you start off with boiling, if you're putting boiling water in it, it'll cook faster. But if you're putting cold water in it, it takes an hour to an hour and a half just for the crock pot to get up to the right temperature to start cooking it. Of course, there's some crock pots that'll burn you like that because they just heat up really, really fast. So this depends on your crock pot.
And also the tomato and salt.
Right.
Helps cooking a little bit too.
Right. Yeah, and you can add the tomatoes afterwards, and you can add the salt afterwards. But with lentils, I haven't really found that they keep them hard. But with other beans, sometimes it'll keep it hard. So I have not added my kale because I want to wait till these lentils are cooked before I add my kale. Just because I don't like my kale totally dead.
So you won't be able to put an inch of water in that pot because the pot is pretty low.
This pot, so this recipe is for my family to only eat. You can totally half that, and you can half it, and yes. So usually 1 pound of lentils is about 2.5 cups cooked. So you do about 1.25 cups or a cup or so of lentils if you're going to half it, and then just half everything else, and then it'll be the amount for normal people.
Right.
I use a great big pot too.
Right. Well, the pot that I brought, I brought a double recipe in that, and we ate lunch from it. So I like my big pots. So yeah, I'm just gonna let this cook, and yeah. Any more questions about this recipe?
I like the idea that you substituted kale and spinach.
Yeah. You can add pretty much anything. Yeah, I do. I like spinach. I just didn't have any growing.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm not a big
Kale
kale
was actually
eater,
channeled.
but
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah, well, some kale's different. And I think because it cooked in the different spices and stuff, it just kind of softened it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and you can add like frozen chopped spinach into this, where you don't have to chop anything. I mean,
I lived in the South for 40 years, so kale is a big issue down there.
See, my collards weren't growing. Yeah, I would put some collards.
Collards.
I love collards. Too. It'll be growing soon. I got my little plants. They're about this high right now, but not putting them in yet. All right. So I'm gonna turn off the video, and then I'll post the recipe on here for you guys, so that if you want to share it with a friend, you can share it with them and let they can find it. And yeah.
I have already gotten this into my soup.
Oh, good.
And when I was here a week ago, I think it was.